Stick to yourself and mind your own business. Keep your head down and drop your ego. Find others of your own race who will protect you. Follow all staff instructions unconditionally. Do not make deals with anyone inside under any circumstance. Stay calm and good luck. Now, after reading to you this common debriefing that many American prisoners are given immediately before starting their sentence, how many of you can honestly say you feel as though this is going to be a correctional experience rather than a punishment? In this speech, I will persuade you to see the problems with America's prison system by first explaining why it's broken, then presenting some solutions for reform, and finally ending by visualizing an enlightened nation with a new prison system. Guys, our legal system is nowhere near perfect. We all know it. So often people are wrongfully imprisoned or given extremely harsh sentences for minor or first-time offenses. The sad truth is that you and I have a substantial chance of ending up in prison at least once in our lives, whether it's for the right reasons or for no reason at all. We simply don't know, but we can make a change so that we don't have to live in constant fear of going to prison. I once met a homeless man in downtown Atlanta who explained to me that going to prison had changed his life. He said that he was never physically abused, nor raped, nor killed, which is more than many of his peers could say. Yet despite all of these hardships he avoided, he still managed to be degraded in ways that no man should ever feel and essentially abandoned by his own country. Today I'm going to show you why we need change. Once you can agree with me that our system needs an update, I'll begin to present some solutions. And finally, I'll show you a glimpse of what our prison system could look like in the near future if we commit to change. Now, I want to start by saying I've heard of a lot of people who support the way our prison system works use the phrase, act like dogs, get treated like dogs. Meaning if someone does something illegal, they would rather see them punished and permanently locked in a 6x6 cell rather than corrected and given a second chance to live in society. I say bullshit. If we as a nation really want to judge somebody based on their past and exile them for mistakes they've made, then we are complete hypocrites. The same nation that was born with roots of freedom and equality is now the one that wants to lock away its own people? The same nation that prides itself on its diversity now wants only the straightest of arrows? Something doesn't add up. The problems begin inside the cell. The Equal Justice Initiative reports that incarcerated people are commonly beaten, raped, stabbed, and killed in facilities run by corrupt officials who abuse their power with impunity. I ask you, if you lost all control over your life and you were constantly degraded by those who consider themselves to be superior to you, how would you act? The issues aren't just with conditions inside of prisons, though. A video from study.com explains that for those serving a felony that can be punishable by up to a year in prison, but, and let me stress this part, serving a felony that can be, you do not have to be convicted of this punishment. Meaning, even if you're given a lesser sentence or just community service for a crime you committed, if it can be punishable by up to 1 year in prison, the following rights that every U.S. citizen supposedly has the privilege of receiving are revoked. Right to bear arms, revoked entirely. Right to vote, revoked while in prison in 48 states, revoked indefinitely in 11 states, and revoked while in prison as well as on parole or probation in 21 states. Right to jury duty, revoked indefinitely. Employment in certain fields, revoked indefinitely. And all of this is not to mention the complete blackballing from society that most felons receive after they are let out of prison. I again ask you, how many of your job applications have asked if you were a convicted felon? Do you know what you get when you're let out of prison? Only what you brought with you. Let me paint a scenario inside of your head. You get sent to prison with only your wallet, your phone, and the clothes on your back. 1 year later, you're let out. You try to go home, but you've been evicted from your house for failing to pay rent. So you sleep at a relative's house for the week and decide to try to get a job one morning so that you can get some rent money to pay that house again. You go in for an interview and it's going perfectly fine until they ask the question, are you a convicted felon? You hesitantly answer yes, and you realize there's no way in hell they'll ever hire someone who's been to prison at such a prestigious company. But no worries, it all isn't lost, right? You're left with a choice. Work a minimum wage job for the rest of your life, or try to find a more creative way of getting money. And this is exactly how so many people fall into the prison cycle trap. According to Wikipedia, the prison cycle, or as it's commonly referred to, recidivism, refers to the idea that after 1 year of being out of jail, 68% of former prisoners are sent back to jail. The statistic is positively correlated with time, meaning after 9 years of being out of prison, this number rises to a staggering 83% chance. ABC News recently verified this information by reporting that at least a quarter of the 4.9 million prisoners arrested and booked in jail each year are repeat offenders. More than 1.2 million people each year are arrested and have been to jail before. Let's put this in perspective. More than 1.2 million people enter the prison cycle each year in our nation. Now that you can see the problem for yourself, I'll offer some potential solutions. I want to stress that this is not a worldwide phenomenon. There are some countries with extremely impressive correctional centers and rehabilitation facilities that have proven to be very efficient. In an article from The Atlantic, they explained that Scandinavian countries such as Denmark have revolutionary alternatives to prototypical prisons. These countries have implemented open prisons, in which prisoners are allowed privileges such as going into local towns to work or even study during the day, wearing their own clothes, and even renting flat-screen TVs for their cells. The craziest part is these people are in prison for drug trafficking, theft, and even murder. This shows that even the most violent of criminals can be corrected with compassion. Of course, I'm not suggesting that we do this for all prisoners in our nation, as many of them have individual needs. But this leads me right to my next point. In the 4 highest security prisons in the Scandinavian countries, each prisoner has a contact officer who monitors and helps progress them toward a return to society. I believe this would be the most beneficial change to American prisons, giving our prisoners individual help and monitoring them based on how they behave rather than the crime they committed in their past. The evidence also shows that treating people like normal citizens would improve their behavior. Implementing things such as allowing them to choose when and where they move within prison walls could be extremely helpful to reintroducing them to society. Even something as simple as letting them dress themselves may give them back a sense of freedom. If we decide to go this route, here's how it might look. Prisons could finally be what we call them, correctional centers. Prisoners would work closely with contact officers who could help reintroduce them to a real world. A common saying is that the most dangerous man is a man with nothing to lose. Imagine a place where none of our prisoners felt hopeless. They would all be working towards coming back to the real world and restarting their lives. They would be treated compassionately within the prison walls, and furthermore, they wouldn't be judged by their past once released. It may seem like a complete turnaround from our current system, but just a few small changes could make this huge difference for so many people. In conclusion, today I spoke with you about why America's prison system is broken. Then I presented some possible solutions for reform, and finally I ended by visualizing an enlightened nation with a reformed prison system. This world is unpredictable. All it takes is one accident or slip-up to land you or me in jail. It seems scary, but it doesn't have to be. We could trust our system to do its job. This is an urgent problem that we as a nation need to fix immediately. I hope you can agree with me that this system is in dire need of change. Thank you.